the show. Once again, we have a fabulous lineup of guests to energize and inspire you.
It's time to wake up your wow with your host, international award-winning speaker, Cath Vincent.
On the show tonight, let's talk about sex, baby. Naturopath and biochemist David Holden explains men and women, the birds and bees, hormones and your sex drive. International belly dancer and fitness instructor Laura Gregory shows how you too can have the body of a goddess. And TV host, speaker and relationship expert Sian Jaquet tells us how to love our kids and let them go. And in the Wilde Records music slot, we hear from singer-songwriting duo Zephyr. All this and more to wake up your wow.
David, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Cath. Good to be here.
Now listen, you are one of New Zealand's oldest, long-standing naturopaths. And today you're talking about sex. How come?
Well, it's such a big issue for people and their health, just like finances and like lifestyle. I see so many couples that come and see me there where sex is a big issue for their health.
So your interest is in the fact that sex actually affects your emotional health and well-being?
Of course. Ask any woman.
Now, it's men as well, though, isn't it?
Exactly.
So tell me, what kind of issues do you see occurring?
Well, for men, it's very simple. Men, they've only got two real issues around sex in the bedroom, is getting hard and lasting long enough to pleasure her. For the woman, it's a lot more complicated. You know, you've probably seen the analogy of the switch for a man, it's on or off. For a woman, there's dials, there's tone, there's texture, there's stereo, there's noise, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing for women. Fundamentally, women have three main hormonal drivers, men have one, and that's the essential difference.
Right. Now, as a scientist, your interest is in understanding those hormones and
Correct.
helping other people understand them.
Correct.
Brilliant. So just explain to us the difference in the hormones that men have versus women.
Right, well, men are driven primarily by testosterone as the big one for them, and dopamine. Dopamine's the reward center in the brain. When a man has an orgasm, ejaculates, his brain is flooded with dopamine. It's the reward center. The same thing if you won $1 million in lotto, your brain would be flooded with dopamine. Yeah. So anything where there's a reward at the end of it, you get the dopamine response. And it can be very addictive. And it's one of the reasons why men, when they get aroused by a woman, want sex all the time. And so that's the driver for them. For women, it's oxytocin is the big driver for them, and serotonin. So serotonin is released in the brain in both men and women, and it's released in small amounts regularly during the day. Whenever she thinks of him touching her, him holding her, sending some roses, box of chocolates, every time she gets a little serotonin release. Yeah. So for her, foreplay starts way before they physically actually meet. If the guy's sensible, he'll ring her up and say in the morning, he'll say, darling, I want to take you out tonight for a lovely, passionate, romantic evening. Instantly, foreplay starts for her, right? But for him, it's until they're actually touching. So it's a completely different drive. Oxytocin, on the other hand, is released after female orgasm, and that's when she wants to hug him, touch him, hold him, hear his words, not fall asleep. Okay, she wants him to have pillow talk and be there for her afterwards. And that's an obvious biological drive, because once she's got pregnant, she wants the guy to hang around, to look after her while she's breastfeeding, looking after the baby. She doesn't want him to piss off.
And all of this applies whether or not you're thinking of sex for childbirth, isn't it?
Correct.
It's just the biological imperative.
It's the same drivers in our brain that just goes back a millennia.
Yeah. Okay. And so what advice would you give, for men and for women? What can they learn from what their hormones are telling them?
Well, let's use an analogy of a fire, okay? So men are the firemen. They can put out the fire or they can start it like that. That's what men are. That's what they do. Women's like the fire, okay? So what does a fire need to work? It needs oxygen, it needs fuel, it needs heat. So he's the heat, okay? The fuel is love, and the oxygen is the foreplay.
Right.
So if the guy gets that and starts to use that, then he can have all the sex he wants with the woman he loves, and she'll be completely pleasured and want more. So it's a win-win for both.
Specifically, let's take them one by one. Your advice for men, top three, to understand the hormones, what top three tips would you give them?
Watch her cues.
Yeah.
Slow down. the common complaint I get from women is he goes too fast.
Yeah.
Slow down, put on the brakes, listen to her cues, see when her pupils dilate, when her nipples get hard, when she thinks she wants you. Learn those cues. The big one for men would be well groomed, smell nice, look nice, be attractive to her. Okay, sure, if you've had a day pounding out the concrete and you're on the building site with the guys, it's rough as, that's a blokey environment. But when you're in the romantic restaurant and you're thinking of the bedroom afterwards, start focusing on what she wants, what turns her on, not just what turns you on.
So that adapts his thinking to her thinking. Correct. How can the reverse be true? What should she be doing? Okay,
so for women, 2 things women should never criticise with a man: his driving and his sex performance. Okay? If you criticise, if you criticise his driving or what he's like in bed, you've lost him.
It's
He's
only
gone.
the driving. It's only the driving I criticise.
So for women, I guess, guys have very, very simple needs. Most women know intuitively what men want. They want an attractive woman, show a bit of cleavage, nice curves, smell nice. Women do that naturally anyway. The guys could learn a lot from that for women. So for women, I think it's really just be attentive to his needs, know that he has a different complete driving system to what you have, and you want to sustain his interest long enough so that you get longer foreplay, and then he has better sex, you have better sex, it's a win-win.
And overall, what kind of impact can all of that intelligence have on your health?
Huge. Emotional wellness is massive. So it's as important as the money in your bank account. So if you feel loved, nurtured, you have a good sex life, you've got a job you enjoy, you've got a really good relationship with your kids, your family, your wellness coefficient, as I call it, is really, really high. And you have a massive resistance to disease. And that's really what it's all about.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us today, David.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Next up, belly dancing queen Laura Gregory combines fitness and sensuality.
Welcome, Laura. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Looking fabulous, I must say.
Thank you.
Now, first of all, is it true that the only exercise you do is belly dancing?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Wow. Well, hey, I know that we want to hear a bit more about that. But tell me a bit about the history, because people do think that belly dancing is kind of sexy and kind of erotic, really. But there's a bit more to it than that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it can be sexy and it can make you feel sexy. But historically, it was a dance that women did for other women.
Oh. For other women?
Yes, yeah.
Wow, why?
So there's 2 reasons. So one of them was it was a kind of celebration of femininity and fertility. So special occasions, like it could be a bridal party or a baby party. The other reason was to prepare the woman's body for things like childbirth, and also to kind of relieve PMS symptoms, because the pelvic movements kind of really are good for us down there.
Wow. Now, this is a very sexy show, isn't it? We're talking a lot about
yeah, it is. It's turning out that way.
And one of the things that appeals to you were saying to me in the break, that actually there are so many health benefits.
Yeah, that's right.
Give us an idea of some of the reasons that you think all women should be doing belly dancing.
That's right. So first thing is body image and body confidence. So when I started dancing, I start to feel a lot better in my body in everyday life. I feel sexier. I actually enjoy. I'm more sensual. I enjoy sex more and think I'm better at it. That's one of them. For me, also as a de-stress. I mean, all exercises, it relaxes us, but belly dancing in particular, it's the movements you need to do, your body has to be relaxed. So when you relax your body, your mind follows.
Right, okay. So this is belly dancing is a really ancient ritual, if you like, an ancient dance, but you're bringing it into the modern day as a fitness workout.
Yeah, that's right. So you're right. Some experts say it's the oldest form of dance, but and people don't realise this. It can be an excellent cardio workout. So in my goddess body workout, we're sweating after class, and our muscles are all aching.
Brilliant. And you've actually competed, haven't you?
So the Arabella's troupe, which is, I suppose, the most famous troupe in New Zealand, and it's choreographed by world famous belly dancer Thais, competed in China, and I'm going back to China this year, so in August, so that's exciting.
Awesome. Well, are you going to show us some belly dancing? I can see you've got little kind of
Yeah, that's right, I've got my jingly coin belt on, and I've got one for you too.
Oh, God. As you can see, I have magically transformed into my goddess body.
You have!
So you're going to teach me something?
That's right, so we're just going to do like a couple of basic moves.
Okay.
So we'll start off with our hands above our heads, and we'll just bend our knees slightly and tuck our pelvises in.
Okay.
And we're just going to do a hip roll.
Oh, yes.
Lovely. So this is quite natural, kind of, once we get used to it, it's quite natural movement for women to do.
It's quite natural, except with the studio.
Yeah, I know. No, you're doing well.
Okay.
Nice, no, you're doing really well.
Stop laughing.
Cool. So that's the one with the hips. Next, we're going to focus on our chest. So if you like, just for now, you can put your hands on your hips. And so we're going to move our chest in a vertical circle.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to try and isolate that from the rest of our body. Okay. It's difficult to get used to at first.
Only with this lot. I quite like it.
Yeah.
I quite like it.
Really good for your back, this one.
Actually, well, that is good news. I could do with a bit of back exercise.
Okay, so there you go. You did really well.
Brilliant. Hey, can I just do a bit of juggling?
Yes. Oh, yes. This is another movement. So this is a quick. It's called a shimmy. So it's a small, quick movement. And so the idea is that you just want to shake your hips as fast as you can. And you want to let your bum and your thighs go really loose like jelly, and they should just be wobbling around everywhere.
They are.
Really, if you do this for a while, really good exercise.
Really? I can feel it working.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well done. You can sit down now.
That was great. I really love that, actually.
Cool, there you go. You have to come to class.
Maybe I will. I'm trying to find my goddess body.
Oh, it's in you.
Laura, you're fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Next up, New Zealand's favourite relationship expert, Sian Jaquet, on the highs and lows of parenting. Sian, so glad that you're here. Thanks for joining us.
Absolute pleasure, darling. Thank you for asking me.
Now, you are a relationship expert. Tell me, why are you so passionate about helping people navigate relationships?
What I've learned in the last 20 years is that everything is about relationships. So if I'm working in executive coaching space with entrepreneurs, captains of industry, it's all about relationships, how they relate to people. And then it moves into different segments, our intimate relationships, our relationships with children, our relationships with ourselves even. Everything, every piece of work I do, fundamentally all comes back to what's the quality of relationship somebody is having.
And you hosted that show, Starting Over,
Yep, I
and The
did.
Big Stuff.
Yep.
Tell me a bit about those TV projects.
Well, the first one, The Big Stuff. So if we're going to relate that to relationships, it was about people's relationships to stuff and how they were living. And that had a knock-on effect to the people they were sharing their lives with, as in some of them couldn't even come in the houses because there was so much stuff.
Tell us a bit more about that show for people who might not have seen it.
Well, there were 10 episodes, a primetime TV3 show, so we went into people's houses and we literally removed every single one of their belongings. We emptied the entire house and took it to a warehouse. And what I did was I stayed with these people for anything up to 5 to 7 days. And what the people did was they all had a different set of circumstances. There was one young couple who had a 5-year-old daughter who, when I say the house was literally full of toys, I mean, I opened the front door and I was up to my calves in toys.
So these people are hoarders, really?
Well, I'm not absolutely sure that particular couple's issue was hoarding. It was about finding a language of love to their daughter, which was about buying her things every day. And what we actually had was a 4-year-old who was running the house.
Wow.
So she actually had her parents going to bed at 7:15. And the bed, she'd moved into their bedroom. So look, was it all about relationships? Yeah, it was all about relationships. Yeah. You'd be pleased to know by the end of it, the little girl ended up with her own bedroom. And we removed, probably 95% of the toys, and gave them quite a strict behavioural modification programme to stop going out and buying stuff. So the big stuff was really about things that people accumulated in their lives that were stopping them living the lives they wanted.
And everything that you've done, the common theme is about helping people move forward to live the life that they deserve. Yeah. So give us some idea of how relationships impact people and what they can do about it.
Well, not to be left out, I now want to talk about sex. That wasn't actually why I came, but we can't body swerve this.
Do you want to do some belly dancing?
No. Trust me, that we don't want. Otherwise, this ain't going to go to air. Look, I've been on this earth quite a long time now. Okay, the number begins with a 5.
It's not that long, is it? Does it begin with a 5?
It begins with a 5.
Good for you.
And if we're actually going to talk sex and we're going to talk about intimate relationships, one of the areas I do quite a lot of work with is with families. Yeah. And I'll be called in because the manner in which the family isn't working, and usually it's because teenagers or whatever are acting out. But it's actually the parents I end up working with. And this is the world according to Sian. It doesn't make me right. Well, actually, it does make me right. But what I'm trying to say is that all families start with parents. So my belief is that if you choose to bring kids in the world, the priority is to look after yourselves. So looking after the intimacy of your relationship, finding time to be together. Yeah. You are not a parent all the time. You need to find a space where you are the person you were before you brought these squatters into the world. And if I look at most relationships that get into crisis, it's because they lose their way within that. And I think in today's world, the phrase they use is helicopter parenting. Well, it's a ludicrous way if you actually stop back and think about it, because you're not preparing kids for a life of independence. Now, I don't know any parents who brought kids into the world with the intention of keeping them in their living room until they were in their 70s and 80s. Yeah. But until parents understand that actually the job is to create independence, and you do that by teaching them that it's okay for two adults, i.e. you as the parents, to have intimacy of a relationship, and withdrawing from being there with kids all the time, going away for the night, going out for date nights, and working hard on actually sustaining a sexual relationship. That I think there's a lot of people that I work with who you get very tired, there's a lot of pressures in life, there's jobs, there's money, there's, we live in New Zealand, so a lot of people I work with have emigrated to New Zealand, and the pressures of life tear the intimacy of their relationships apart. And I would be saying that that's where all relationships begin and end. That if you can wake up together and smile and think, yep, that's the person I actually want to wake up to, and you can go to sleep thinking, yep, that's the person whose head I want to be next to on the pillow, then the chances are you are going to survive a lifetime of a relationship. But it is that intimacy, and sex is a fundamental part of every relationship, and body swerving it and pretending it's not important creates gaps and spaces in lives that a lot of the time are very, very difficult to mend. When I start working with couples and families, that's one of the questions I will ask them. And if the intimacy in a relationship hasn't been there for over a year, I know I'm in for hardcore work to get them back together.
You're absolutely right. People get overtaken by the lives of their children, don't they?
Absolutely, they do.
So if someone's sitting here listening to this and they go, yeah, I can see that is creeping into my relationship, because it kind of creeps in over time, what initial steps would you advise them that they can take right now?
Ask yourself a fundamental question. Why did you bring children into the world? What is it that they're there for? You need to create a vision. So what is success going to look like? Now, if your vision, as I say, is having your kid sitting in the living room with you when you're in your 70s, then rock on, because that's exactly what you're going to get. Yeah. But if you want to be looking at kids who have a life where they know how to make choices, they know how to be emotionally robust and emotionally independent, that they're not looking to you as parents, create the vision. What is it? What kind of young people, what kind of human beings are you part of creating?
Yeah.
Don't just presume they're going to end up being independent adults, because they're not, unless you teach them.
Is it more common now that kids don't seem to, in my day, kids were a bit more self-sufficient? I hear so many people say, oh, kids don't do a damn thing around the house. Is that reality, or is that just...
It absolutely is reality. Again, this is the world according to Sian. I think there are several reasons for that. If I look at my own life experience, I think that if you're a working mom, and again, I was the generation that went out there and did 70 odd hours a week and had 3 kids under 5. I'm not absolutely quite sure how I did it, but my kids learned how to use...
She had sex.
Yeah, I had lots of sex. My kids all learned to use a microwave years before they should have done. I think what we've got mums who are very guilty. So when they do come home, they create these Mickey Mouse worlds where they want to do everything for their kids. They want to buy them everything and they want to do everything to try and fill that gap of not being present. I also think that there is a preciousness that is born of fear, that the world we live in, if we actually absorbed every bit of news and everything that was written in the newspaper and everything we hear in the school playground, as parents, we become very, very fearful. Everybody's world is challenging, and as parents, you want to keep your kids close and keep them safe. But I would say that's not actually our job. Our job is to prepare independent young adults.
Yeah. And actually, you've been involved in this fabulous book, which
Yeah, I
is
have.
Parenting by the Stars. Some amazing names in there, as well as your own. Tell me a bit about the book.
Well, 2 young ladies, Marie and Paula, came up to me and they'd had an idea that they wanted to collect stories from, I'm laughing, stars, celebrities, I'm not quite sure what that means. But anyway,
TV personalities.
people that the public know.
Yeah.
And what they wanted to do was kind of offer them an opportunity to see that the challenges that we have as parents, everybody has.
And there's some great wisdom in this book.
It's easy to pick up, flick through, and I think be inspired and a bit supported. One of the other things I do want to say is that the whole purpose of the book was to create some funds for Dyslexia Foundation of New Zealand. Both of these ladies who put this book together are moms, and it's something that they're very passionate about, and I am too. I mean, I am actually dyslexic, so it was a fabulous opportunity to raise some funds, raise some awareness. There's recipes at the back which are quite funny, and every single penny goes to the Dyslexic Foundation. So please go out, get yourself a copy, give them as presents. It's it's quite inspiring.
Beautiful. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Jessie, welcome back. Good to have you here again.
Great to be here.
Now, who's recording in the studio right now?
We have a duo called Audio Zephyr.
And who's in the band?
There's Warren and Hugh. And I first met these guys at a party just recently, and they played amazingly, and everyone was listening to the music, and we thought we'd better get them on the show.
So you're going to parties, scouring, looking for talent, and pretending it's work.
Absolutely. And of course, because the whole show's been about sex this week, all songs are basically about relationships and sex. Either sex going well, or relationships going well, or relationships going bad. So here we go, Audio Zephyr.
Let's hear them.
I'm a car crash, baby. I'm just a wreck. I'm a car crash, baby. Since you left, well, I did not see that fork in the road. And how could I have known unsafe load? I'm a car crash, baby. rescue me. Tell them to hurry, 'cause I'm hurt real bad. And try not to worry, and don't you be sad. I'm a car crash, baby. I've grown real cold by the side of this road, and if I close my eyes, I see my way home. I'm a car crash, baby. I'm just a wreck. I'm a car crash, baby, since you left. I'm a car crash, baby, I'm just a mess. I'm a car crash, baby. Car crash, baby.
Loved it. Thank you so much. That was awesome.
It's a very positive, happy song, isn't it?
Yes.
So what's the song about?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, relationships that
Yeah, go
go
south.
up and down.
Take a left, then a right.
A left and a right, and then sometimes...
Off the
And
road.
you do quite a mix of styles, don't you? Because so it's not all ballads and it's...
Yeah, we do a little bit of upbeat stuff,
Bit of country.
bit of country and a bit of rock and roll.
Now I'm a bit biased because I love the bass, but when that bass comes in that song, it's like, oh, how gorgeous! Love that, and the harmonies as well. So how long have you two been singing together?
On and off for a few years, but
Years, yeah.
I mean, yeah, on and off.
Yeah.
He's busy, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Of course, I first met you when you were working on my electric guitars. So you do, do you do acoustics and
Yeah,
electrics?
guitar tech, doing anything that needs to be done to a guitar, yeah.
Cool. And Ben, who's been involved with the show quite a lot,
Yep.
gets his guitars done with you as well.
Yes, he does, yep.
Cool.
That's my day job, as it were.
Yeah. So it's music through and through for you, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is, yeah. But nobody really pays you to play, so...
Yeah.
Well, it was bizarre to turn up the other night at the party and see you up there and just loving the music.
Yeah.
So what would your
Really enjoyed
influences be, you reckon?
Everything, really, that I've heard since Speak. Starting with Elvis.
Cool.
Not a bad influence.
No, not at all.
Thank you so much for joining us today in the studio, and keep doing what you're doing. We love it.
It's very good.
My thanks to all my special guests, to David, to Laura, to Sian, to Warren and Hugh, and our very own Jessie Wilde. And until next week, don't wait to wake up your wow.
You're not putting that on me. Oh, it wouldn't be the first time.